Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes' historic win and point streaks came to a sad end up in Madison Square Garden against the New York Rangers. Find out just what went wrong for the Hurricanes in that game in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you are listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Wednesday afternoon. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis_96 and subscribe to the show on YouTube as well. And as I said, the Carolina Hurricanes' historic win and point streaks came to an end last night, with the win streak stopping at 11 games and the point streak stopping at 17 games. It was a heck of a run for the Hurricanes, something they should definitely be proud of. But we knew it's got to come to an end at some point, and that was last night. So, looking at this game, though, it was not one I'm surprised the Hurricanes lost, because there's a lot of factors here in this game that I think really played a big factor in that. And, first and foremost, look who you're playing. You're playing New York Rangers. And I've said many, many times on this throughout the history of this show, we're in the fourth season of doing it, that when Metro teams play each other, it doesn't matter if it is the top team playing against the bottom team or, however you want to divide it up. They play with a little something extra every time they play each other. And, that's something you always have to take into consideration whenever we're playing a different or another Metro team. So, and then we're also playing in Madison Square Garden. And while, it's the season, the Hurricanes have been really good this season. Historically, the Rangers have had the Hurricanes number, especially up in MSG. You remember for the longest time, they couldn't even get a win up there. If they're beating the Rangers, they're doing that here in Raleigh, not up in Manhattan. So that's another thing. Taking that into consideration as well. Maybe obviously not like a big thing there, but historically they don't do good up there. So it kind of seems fitting it ended up there. And one thing with this game is it was a whole team loss first and foremost. But first off, I want to touch on Pyotr Kochetkov. He did make some great saves in this game first off, and it's not his fault that they lost the game. Definitely some goals he's going to want back for sure. But, I knew this would be a problem whenever he would come back, whether it was against the Rangers, the Panthers, the Predators tomorrow. You knew it was going to be an issue because it was 2 weeks to the day that he had his last start. And I figured that there was going to be a little something there. And he hadn't started again in the last 6 games. December 20th was his last start, and again 2 weeks to the day from his last start. So I figured there would probably gonna be a little bit of rust there. And considering he was the reason Antti Raanta started going on that run was because Piotr was not 100%. So again, I am not surprised that he had some golds that he's going to want back and that the Hurricanes lost this game. Again, not his fault at all. This was a team loss. But again, it's something we saw with Antti Raanta as well. Whenever he had his first couple starts after being out for an extended period of time when Piotr was going on his run. his first couple games back, they were rough. Yeah, the Hurricanes got the wins, but he didn't look great. He eventually, got, you know, rolling, and, he had back-to-back shutouts, NHL 3rd star of the week, and, all that stuff. And that's gonna happen with Piotr. Yeah, I've said that already that, first couple games may be a little iffy, but, you know, he's gonna get back to where he was. I'm not worried about that. And again, the streak had to come to an end at some point, and, a big thing with this is, again, I keep saying is the team lost. They didn't play the full 60 minutes. First, second period, it's kind of back and forth. Brent Burns, he opened up the scoring for the Hurricanes, and then Marty Necas, got his 17th of the year. Heading into the third period, the Hurricanes had a 3-2 lead with Burns, Necas, and Chatfield all showing up on the score sheet, and with Necas and Chatfield, their goals being really good responses from New York power play goals. With Truba and Zibanejad respectively getting those power play goals for New York. So in that regard, those first two periods, the Hurricanes were pretty good, aside from the penalty kill not being very effective there, as it typically has been, being pretty good. But the third period is where it all fell apart, and, that's where, the Rangers, end up scoring 3 goals, and, with one of them being an empty netter, but it just it's an issue I've said in the past. The Hurricanes gotta play the full 60 minutes, and that isn't what they did here, and I think that, you know, you're always gonna have stuff like this regardless of the time of the season, whatever season it is, and all that. This has been something that I've talked about last year, the year before that. It's always an issue, but it's for quite a while the Hurricanes hadn't had that problem. And I do hope that it is one where we're not having to have this conversation day after day after day like it was last year. Because you remember last year, I want to say it was around December, January, if I remember correctly, where it just felt like, oh my God, every single game we were talking about, they're not playing the full 60 minutes, they're dropping these games. So I'm really hoping that this was just a one off thing and not something that we have to worry about. And very much like up in New Jersey with that game against the Devils, where the Hurricanes were just taking an uncharacteristic amount of penalties. And the Hurricanes, they took 5 in this game, and sadly, the Rangers went 3 for 5 on the power play, and that is not good. And that is very how in the last game, it was uncharacteristic of them taking so many penalties. It was very uncharacteristic of the penalty kill being that bad, because it is typically not like that for the Hurricanes. But again, you give a team like New York 5 power play opportunities with the weapons they have. mm, yeah, I'm not surprised either. And the Hurricanes, unsurprisingly, went 0 for 3 on their power play opportunities, and that is, I sound like a broken record, y'all. I really sound like a broken record every single game. It's, "Oh, power play didn't show up," you know? For a while, I thought that it was starting to make a come up, and I hope this is just an extended valley, but I'm starting to think this is just what we're gonna expect this year, of the power play just being crap, honestly. And, with that, it's something I've said it so many times, they have to get it under control and get it figured out if they're going to make a run in the playoffs, because a game like this in the playoffs, you allow 3 power play goals in the playoffs and you go 0 for 3 on yours, you're not winning a Stanley Cup like that. They got lucky last playoff of never winning a road game, and they've seriously got to get the power play figured out, and because that's something there that, oh, look, it yet again, if the power play showed up, it would have made a difference. It's you take that empty net goal out. All right, you just go 1 for 3 on your power play. Okay, it's tied 4-4. All right, you're going into overtime then. And it's yeah, maybe you don't win the game, because Kochetkov a little bit rusty. Yeah, okay. You lose in overtime, but you still get a point out of it. Yeah, your win streak comes to an end, but your point streak is then at 18 games. And obviously those streaks aren't, something that matters. At the end of the day, they're just, fun to talk about. But the power play has got to show up because there's been many games where you can point to, like, even if you scored one power play goal, like this one, all right, you're going into overtime. If you score, you had 3 opportunities, all right, you score on 2, you're winning. Obviously, I don't ever expect the Hurricanes to go 3 for 3 on the power play. But again, you do that, all right, you're winning. But again, just one power play goal would have made a world of difference here in this game. But at the end of the day, the game is over and done with. The Hurricanes lost 5-3. But it's a frustrating one, but it's one let's just put it behind us, move on to the next game. We did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game, and we will hear what Rod had to say right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, the Carolina Hurricanes are playing the Nashville Predators tomorrow. So if you're wanting to place a bet on that game, BetOnline is the place to do it. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to the college bowl season and basketball. They've got it all at betonline.net. If you're a wrestling fan, Royal Rumble's at the end of the year. If you think Cody Rhodes is going to come back and win it, then place your bet on that. And of course, if you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. They are the fastest and easiest way to get all of your betting info. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, again, we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game last night. But, one thing, I do want to touch on is, the some more things that came out, from this game. And, like I said, I expected, the game to be a bit rough for Piotr, but, this was only his second regulation loss of his career. So, I do expect him, with his work ethic and, just how good he has been, I expect him to bounce back pretty soon, and pretty easily. I don't expect this to be one where, it's, something that's just constant, constant thing of just him struggling. I don't expect that at all. I expect, again, a little bit of rust, knock it off. And then, I would honestly assume he gets to start tomorrow against Nashville. I assume, he's just back to normal. I don't expect this to be a thing where for him of being a long-term issue. But again, only the second regulation loss of his career. So again, that's just a test to how good he has been for the Hurricanes. And with Marty Necas getting his goal there in the first period, no, excuse me, second period. But Marty Necas's goal, regardless of when it was, if it was the first or second period, that was his 17th of the season. And that is a new career high for him. And that is what the Hurricanes were wanting coming into this season. They were wanting him to really bounce back from last year. And that is what he has done in spades this year. He is really, making a case, for, all-star game for him to be in that conversation for the Hurricanes. Whether or not he is, I don't know. That's just something we'll have to wait and see come that time. But, that's really good for him. I think that that's gonna be one where it's like, all right, he really has, like, bounced back, and this is sustainable. It wasn't just, all right, he's going on a little bit of run, to start the season, out. I think, he is really he this isn't like a little short window for him. This is a bounce back year. And, we're at the beginning of January. We're not even at the All-Star break. He's already hit a career high in goals. So, he's at 17 now. Can he hit 30? He's obviously going to hit 20. I do think, because of how much time, we have left in the season for him, I do think 30 goals, could be a real possibility for Marty Necas. And that would be fantastic to have another 30 goal scorer on the team. That'd be fantastic. You got Sebastian Aho, you got Andrei Svechnikov. Those guys are going to hit it. And, you see how close those guys are to hitting it, honestly. But, you know, to be able to have, and then Max Pacioretty, obviously, probably not going to hit 30 goals, this season. But, you know, to be able to have another guy there that can be in that conversation for 30 goals is really good for the Hurricanes. All three of those guys I just mentioned, 1, 2, and 3. Andre, he's at 19 right now. Marty Necas, obviously 17. Sebastian Aho, 12. And all those guys are going to hit 30 goals. And obviously Svech is going to. He's 11 away. He's going to. Marty Necas, I think it's a real possibility. And Sebastian Aho, I think he's in a bit of a lull right now, it feels like. But, he's going to bounce back. And he's going to really go on a tear. And I think, to be able to have that's really good. And it's something they're going to need come playoff time. But, I said, we're going to hear from Rod Brind'Amour, after, everything. And, one thing, before we hear from Rod is Stefan Nazin, and that he left the game in the first period due to a lower body injury, and tried to start skating at the start of the second, but was not able to. He had to go back to the locker room, did not come back. As of 12:38 in the afternoon here on Wednesday, I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything as far as an update on what it was, if she's going to be out for an extended period of time, or what the deal is. But obviously, best wishes to him. You want him to be able to come back, and he was going on a run. He was having a really good year, and I really hope it's something that if he is out for any sort of time, it's not for a very long time. It's maybe a couple games, nothing crazy. And I really hope that it's not anything bad, because also he been great on the power play. He was leading the team in power play goals. He had 6 power play goals. That's something that they're going to be missing. And I said already, one power play goal would have made a difference last night. It would have tied it up. Again, if you take that empty net goal out, would have tied it up. All right, send it to overtime. You also had 3 power play opportunities. Nazin's been so good on the power play. All right, does he get 1? Does he get 2? What's the deal there? That's obviously just a what if scenario. We'll never know what the difference may have been. It could have been the same outcome. It could have been a worse outcome, or it could have been better. Again, we just never know. But again, we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after last night's loss, and this is what Rod had to say last night.
Yeah, well, obviously that first shift, they just kind of flow one in. A couple of weird goals against us, but we weren't really very good in the third. So, it's tough tough game. I liked how we started, but there was some weird kind of things that went on, and we never really got going.
But Chuck calls first.
He's going to want to go back, obviously. That's kind of obvious. But he made some nice saves in the game. It's just a couple of those goals are tough, but he'll bounce back.
Having allowed a power play goal in 3 or 4 games, it's kind of was the difference there.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story against these guys that have. Listen, there was a couple of funny power play goals that you wouldn't really consider, too. But that's not what they were trying to do. But I don't know. I didn't like the calls either. I didn't know what's a penalty tonight. It was a tough night that way. But at the end of the day, we had power plays too, and we were no good with it. So they were the better team.
Obviously a tough loss, but still a fantastic streak. What was the overall conversation with the group after?
Well, we came off it tonight, and it was going to happen at some point. And you say that we were still going into the third, and we had a chance to win the game. So, not great on our part. It's got to be better if we're going to, obviously win at a consistent pace like we have been. So that game was not indicative probably of the way we played, and yet we were still right there to the end.
Yeah. So again, like Rod saying right there at the end, it's not indicative of the team, and I fully expect them to bounce back, against Nashville and, as the schedule continues to roll on. But, they're practicing today. And again, they have Nashville tomorrow. And I fully expect them to sort of have a revenge-ish game because I feel that, this is one, a lot of them were frustrated about this. Again, they did not play the way they typically play. And I really think that they're going to bounce back big tomorrow against Nashville. I think it'll be interesting to see what they're carting out there in terms of a lineup. Again, Stefan Nazen, so far, as of time of recording, we haven't had any updates as far as him. Are they going to bring Jack Drury back, or what we're going to talk about here in a second? Will we get to see Max Pacioretty finally make his Hurricanes debut? And we will talk about that right after this. All right, folks. Now it's time to do a little bit of speculation. Now, back on December 29th, Hurricanes, put out an article written by, show alumni, Walt Ruff, that Max Pacioretty is ahead of schedule, in terms of his recovery. And at the time, could have been, seen could make his debut within the next 10 games. From the time of that article coming out, that 10th game would be the game against Minnesota on the 19th. But, we are, in that window of, are we going to see this? At the time of that article, he was skating with Necas and Svechnikov, kind of where you figured he'd honestly slot into the lineup, to be honest. But I would love for it to happen. I think we're all chomping at the bit to see him make his Hurricanes debut. I think we all are. I think we're all ready for that. But this is not one that I am holding out hope and, expecting him to be in the lineup tomorrow. Now, again, evidently it's in the realm of possibility. I think, I think it's a little too early, in my personal opinion. But again, I'm not him. I'm not Max Pacioretty. I'm not the team doctors. I'm not the coaching staff. I don't know how close he truly is to coming in and making his debut. I keep wanting to say come back, but he hasn't even played yet. But I think that, they're putting this out there, and this isn't like a fan article or, some other news site or anything like that. This is the Hurricanes themselves putting this out. And I do feel like if they're putting this out and they're saying that within the next 10 games, Rod said within the next 10 games, he could potentially come in and make his debut. If they're saying that, I think, yeah, he is pretty darn close. Obviously, yeah, he's been skating. He's not in the yellow no contact jerseys. So I think, yeah, he's gotta be close. It's just like, do we see it? I personally would lean more towards, yeah, the end of that 10-game window that they put in or that they mentioned. That's personally where I would go, but, you know, if he's ready to go, if he is 100% ready, I mean, go for it. I feel like, today, it's, almost, it's quarter to 1 now. I feel like if they're going to have to, do any sort of recall, from Chicago, Jury or Dzingel or whoever, um, I kinda feel like they would've probably already done it, at this point. And so I'm like, okay, or maybe Nazen is going to be good tomorrow. Maybe they're going to roll 11-7. But again, they haven't done anything as far as any sort of recalls, and I think that it's within the realm of possibility that we see Pacioretty. I'm going to say no, but it's a no that I want to be a yes. I want to see him. I think we all want to see him, and you know, you have him make his debut in Raleigh, that'd be awesome. The fans are chomping at the bit to see him play, and then you make his debut in Raleigh. That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome, and it is nice to hear that he's ahead of schedule in terms of his return or debut, and I think that that day is gonna be here before we know it. I think it's gonna be sooner rather than later, but I think tomorrow may be a bit too soon. I think maybe again that Minnesota game is like the last game of that window. I would almost say that we if he is ahead of schedule and like could like it's gonna be in that 10-game window, I'd almost say it'd be sometime next week. But again, this is not gonna be something that we are myself, you, my neighbor, or anything like that, we're gonna know until it is put out, because we're not in there. We don't know. We're not Max Pacioretty. We're not the team doctors. We're not the coaching staff. We're not the front office, anything like that. We don't know. But I do feel it is going to be big whenever he does make his debut for the Hurricanes, and I cannot wait. Again, I want to be wrong. I want him to make his debut tomorrow against the Predators, but I'm not holding my breath on it. Again, I've said countless times against about, so many of our guys that have gotten hurt over the course of doing this show that I would rather have to wait an extra week, for them to be 100% than for them to come back a week early and then get hurt again or risk, making whatever injury even worse. In Pacioretty's case, his Achilles tendon. So I just wanted to be 100%. But, with that article, from a few days ago, we did, get a couple more updates, that we'll touch on briefly before we go. And Frederick Anderson, he's practicing, but, he's not going to come back until he says he's 100%. He's been out for quite a while now. And, I think, one thing that works in his favor is, the fact that the Hurricanes, no disrespect to Freddie, they don't need him back right now. Antti Raanta and Piotr, again, Piotr, rough game last night, but, as a whole, it's been fantastic. Antti Raanta, again, rough couple games, after when he started his stretch, but got his legs on him, fantastic. The Hurricanes don't need Freddie to come back right now. He doesn't have to feel pressured to say that he's 100% when he's not actually 100%. So that is something that works well for him, and he can take the time that he needs to legitimately be 100% and be ready to go. And I think that's great for him. Andre Kasha, again, he has been skating again since the beginning of December. I want to say it was the 8th whenever he starts skating again. He's been in concussion protocol since like the day after opening night. So he's been in concussion protocol for quite a while, but he's skating, and hopefully he, like Pacioretty, will be getting out of that no contact jersey sooner rather than later, so we can get to see him play again. We got to see one game for him so far this season, but again, with his concussion history, again, I want him to take all of the time that he needs to get better and be ready to go. Again, it's not like the Hurricanes were hurting, or the Hurricanes have been hurting, and need him back, very much like Freddie. They got it going. They're good. Needs to come back when he is 100% and like fully cleared of concussion protocol. But there's some updates on those guys. Hopefully, we'll see Pacioretty soon. Again, I don't think we'll see him tomorrow, but I want to be wrong about that, guys. I really want to be wrong about it. But we got to get to tomorrow first, so make sure in the meantime you are subscribed to the show on YouTube and following the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow when we preview this game against the Nashville Predators, and maybe, just maybe, seeing the debut of one Max Pacioretty. Talk to you tomorrow, guys, and let's go Canes.